Hello BookTube, this is my August book haul. For this book haul, History Strikes Back. Over the past few months, most of my book hauls have been manga, Japanese comics. But this month, history is, by a large margin, the most represented genre of literature in this haul. So I'm going to start with the not history and then do the history. So I picked up one volume of manga this month, Jujutsu Kaisen Volume 20. Jujutsu Kaisen is a manga series written by Gege Akutami. It's the story of a young man named Yuji Itadori who joins his school's occult club, and the other club members find a rotten finger. This rotten finger is a cursed object that attracts a cursed spirit, a monster formed out of negative emotions. The cursed spirit attacks the club and is fought off. A young jujutsu sorcerer, a young person or a human with supernatural abilities who devotes their lives to fighting cursed spirits, engages the cursed spirit and has a bit of a rough go with it until Yuji decides to swallow the cursed object, the rotten finger. And this allows him to be temporarily possessed by the evil sorcerer whose finger it was, Sukuna. So Yuji helps defeat the the cursed spirit, and then is possessed by Sukuna and has to be subdued by Megumi, the young sorcerer's teacher, Gojo. So Yuji is then, since he's become a cursed person, he's set to be executed by the larger Jujutsu society. But Gojo argues against that. He argues that since Yuji can comfortably, without too much hassle, contain Sukuna, that let Yuji go ahead and consume the other remaining fingers of Sukuna. And once all of Sukuna is contained within Yuji, then kill Yuji. So that's what they do. So while they initially look for more fingers of Sukuna, Yuji is taught how to be a Jujutsu sorcerer alongside Megumi, and they have a number of adventures until the Shibuya incident happens, and that changes the whole series. So Volume 20 was a blast. I read it earlier this month, and I really loved it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of the series. I think, Volume 21 on pre-order. I don't know, because I'm going to order them from PALS. And so PALS isn't as sort of quick to have forthcoming releases available for pre-order compared to, say, Amazon or even Book People. But anyway, so one thing about Jujutsu, this volume, it had an interesting, so it was like a few Saturdays ago. It was out for delivery, and it was accidentally misdelivered because there was a misprint on the address label that made my address look like it had an extra zero or an extra digit, and it shouldn't have. And that just, it was annoying, but it worked out. It worked out. Moving on to poetry, I picked up 2 volumes of poetry, one a big anthology and the other a slim collected works. So the anthology is the Autumn House Anthology of Contemporary Poetry, edited by Michael Sims, Guiliana Certo, and Christine Stroud. So I've had some success with another anthology put out by Autumn House, A Queer Nature. And so I really wanted to check this out because I wanted an anthology of contemporary poets to see who all I would like to continue on, like to try out in greater depth. Because I think poetry anthologies are a really great way of discovering new poets, particularly if you don't want to try your luck with just picking up random slim volumes of poetry. And the slim collected works I have is Within the Sweet Noise of Life by Sandro Penna, translated by Alexander Booth. So Sandro Penna was a major Italian poet from the early mid 20th century, whose works are incredibly short. And this was a delightful read. I read it a few days ago, and it was really good. So quite happy to have picked it up. Now moving on to the poetry. I just finished the poetry. Moving on to the history. I have quite a large haul on that. So I'm going to start with the used books. So I picked this up from Powell's, the Storied Independent Bookstore in Portland, Oregon. So Cleopatra by Stacy Schiff. This is one of the more highly recommended biographies of Cleopatra. I had to go at this book a few years ago, and I didn't quite get on with it, but I do want to have another go at it, because I do want at least one biography of Cleopatra. I also have I think I bought these from Alibris. I bought two big national histories by John Keay. First up is India, and the other is China. And I'm having a real hankering for Chinese and Indian history lately. So hopefully these will be a really good starter. I have some works on Chinese history, but they're more academic introductions, and I would like more depth, a more narrative history. I also picked up, also from Alibris, I was thinking about picking these up from Princeton University, since they seem to have, since Princeton seems to have a perpetual 30% off sale. But I decided to just buy these used. Although both were a bit disappointing, because the first one, Prague, a Surrealist History by Derek Sayer, is an uncorrected page proof, not for resale. But that kind of annoys me. But hopefully nothing's left out. But anyway, so I kind of have an interest in Czech history and Prague, so really happy to have this and check it out. And missing the dust jacket is Porcelain by Suzanne L. Marchand. So this is a history of porcelain. Moving on to new books, I picked up from Book People this month, Lone Star Nation by H.W. Brands. This is a history of the Texas Revolution, the Texas Rebellion against Mexico. I have a sweet tooth for Texas history, because this will be my second book on that particular period. And I have Bad Mexicans by Kelly Lytle Hernandez. This is from Powell's. This is about the Mexican Revolution in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, and was up for a number of awards when it came out, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I bit the bullet on this one. I picked up The World, Family History of Humanity by Simon Sebag Montefiore. This is a brick of a world history that includes a whole slew of periods, and I'm looking forward to it, even though I did have some issues with it when it first came out. But I I want a world history, and one thought I had was to create a world history through my collection. But as I accumulate more and more histories, um, I'm questioning that decision. So maybe one really good world history will suffice, and the rest of my collection can be, for the most part, um, books on subjects that I'm more interested in. So, moving on to the Kundal History Prize, I did pick up 5 books on the long list. For those of you who don't know, the Kundal History Prize is a book prize that rewards excellence in history writing. The 2023 long list has been just recently been announced, and I thought about following the prize. I followed the shortlist last year, and for the most part, I enjoyed it, although it was definitely a tale of the first 4 books on the shortlist I read and quite enjoyed, and then the other 4 were not quite so successful, so I'm thinking that had more to do with me just overindulging and trying to rush things. So, but I've already tried 3 of these and didn't quite work for me, so I don't know. I'm going to take some time to decide what I want to do. But the 5 books on the long list that I've already picked up are Courting India by Nandini Das. This is the history of the first official embassy of England to the Mughal Empire. So Sir Thomas Roe was hired by the East India Company and was approved by James I to basically represent English and the East India Company interests at the court of Jahangir, the Mughal emperor. And it's basically a look at that embassy as well as Mughal history and English history at that time. And for the most part, I like this book, except for Sir Thomas Roe. He is a meow. Not too fond of him. I also picked up Red Memory by Tania Branigan. This is a look at how people came to terms or did not come to terms with what happened to them during the Cultural Revolution in China. The Cultural Revolution was a period of anarchic experimentation, a means of purging opposition within the Chinese Communist Party on Mao's part that lasted from 1966 to 1976. American Midnight by Adam Hochschild. This is a history of America in World War I and the years after. And the focus is how American civil liberties were and civil rights were eroded in this period to support the war effort and as one of the first anti-communist hysteria waves. Against the World by Tara Zahra. This is a look at anti-globalism and politics between World Wars the 2 World Wars. Haven't gotten to it yet. And Femina by Janina Ramirez. So this is the history of the Middle Ages with an especial focus on women and women's roles. and how some women were written out of it. So, yeah. So those were the Kindle 5. And I also picked up 3 new releases. So books that either have just come out or in one case is probably, I think, actually supposed to come out next month. But Princeton is sometimes they will send out, well, I think usually they actually send out pre-orders like a month or more before the actual release date of the book. But anyway, so first up on the new releases is Young Queens by Leah Redmond Chang. This is a wonderful look at Catherine de' Medici and her daughter Elizabeth de Valois, who was Queen of Spain and Mary, Queen of Scots. And I will talk a lot more about this book on Friday with Weekly Reads because I read it over this past weekend and I loved it. It is amazing. I got this one on Monday, and it was released yesterday, 1923, by Mark William Jones. This is a history of the Beer Hall Putsch and its aftermath. And finally, from Princeton, and I pre-ordered this from Princeton, The Emperor and the Elephant by Sam Ottewill Soulsby. So this book looks at the Christian-Muslim relations in the Middle Ages, particularly around the time of Charlemagne. So this one was the pre-order I got from Princeton, and this one had quite a bit of a journey to get to me. In fact, this is the second time this book had been shipped because the first shipment ended up getting damaged in transit and had to be returned. And so this replacement copy was sent out. So I'm really looking forward to reading it and reporting back. So anyway, BookTube, that was my August book haul. So one thing I'm thinking about doing is these book hauls, waiting until the end of the month, are on one hand immense because there are a lot of books that I tend to haul. But at the same time, I think I give the books a bit of a short shrift because I don't really read the blurbs or do much except for like a quick synopsis of why I picked them up and the circumstances of my buying them. So I'm wondering if I should maybe, instead of doing one really big book haul at the end of the month, I should do piecemeal book hauls, basically books as they come in, so that way I can also, if I remember to, read the blurbs and maybe talk a bit more about them or something, because they do tend to, yeah. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I'll think about it. I know one idea I had was to just continue to do, like, hold off until the end of the month for books I get online. But if I have particularly large hauls, in other ways, like say I go to Golden's Book Exchange or a Friends of the Library book sale, and I get a large number of books that way, to maybe do those hauls separate. I don't know. I'll think about it. I have about a week-ish. Well, not really. Well, I guess it depends when exactly that comes in because I do have 3 pre-orders on Tuesday. Well, actually 4. But since it's from book people, it'll be like towards the end of the week or even the following week, depending when they send it. But anyway, BookTube, so I'll think about changing up my book haul, how I do it. I don't know. Anyway, and obviously you'll find out if I have book haul. Yeah. So anyway, BookTube, that's all I got for now. I will be back tomorrow. With at least a discussion about TBRs. I don't know exactly what I'm going to say, I was wanting to do that video today, but I don't know if I want to focus more on just reading by whim or what. And I also wanted to talk about writing, but I wanted to give that some more thought. So, anyway, BookTube, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you. Have a great afternoon and stay safe.